Discovering your child's personality as he or she grows is part of the fun of parenting, right? It's also the challenge as well. Today, part one of a two-part series on parenting by personality. We're sharing strategies today for moms who say, my child is nothing like me. Studio 5 parenting contributor Heather Johnson is here with some advice on that. 6 kids in your mix. I won't ask you to name which one, but do you have one that fits into this category, nothing like me?
Nothing, yes, I do. And she's just like my husband.
Isn't that funny how it
just
works
like
out?
him.
I can already, I mean, my kids are young, little babies. I can already see this shaping, right? Emmy's out there. She's just all about it. And Boston, even at 7 months, I can tell he's a little more reserved.
Yeah,
it requires a different parenting skill set for almost every child, it seems.
It does. They're very different. And we have to very first, right off the bat, one, recognize that differences are not bad. Differences are cool. That's awesome. Let's see differences. But if we will put our relationships over the differences, it won't matter if they're like us or not like us, we'll always be okay. If the relationship is always coming first, if that's the concern. And so that's what our goal needs to be. Our goal needs to be relationship first, differences, they'll come and go, but our relationship's got to stay. So that's love, respect, trust. Then we'll worry about the differences.
It is easy to see why, though, those differences can feel like a takeover because they're so frustrating. You're looking at this child thinking, I don't even know what to do because I've never experienced it that way.
Right, and we don't see things that way, right? And it gets confusing because the way they see things is not how our brain processes things. And that's why it throws us for a loop a little bit. Because it's like, wait a second, your thought process doesn't even make sense to my mind. And so that's where, again, if the relationship matters more than the differences, it doesn't matter how they think, we'll be okay. We also want to make sure, though, that we don't inflate how big those differences are. All of a sudden we become parents and our children don't see things the same and we think it's monumental, right? It's not. I think of our daughter who's 12. She sees things differently when we go shopping. She wants to walk into a store and find the most neon yellow shirt she can possibly find, get it in every style, and wear it every day.
I love it.
I want something navy. I want it to be navy. I want it to be mustard. I'd go for a really solid gray, right? And so we see these things differently. Now, is the color of our shirt big enough for me to make a big deal about it? It isn't. It's not worth me inflating that we see these things differently. It's a difference. It's an opinion. It's okay.
I do love the point, though, that it's not just the color of the shirt, but it's how her brain got there, that process. I like that you pointed that out as well.
And that's what's most important here. We've got to put understanding over agreeing. And we miss this. We miss this all the time. A lot of it we miss is because we're so distracted by all the things we have to do as parents, we stop seeing our kids as people who have opinions too. So what we want to do is we want to work more to understand her and understand them. Now with our daughter, I don't think I can ever be on board with choosing the neon yellow over the navy. I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't do that, right? Nevertheless, I can understand what it's like to put on a color and feel great in it. And she does. She rocks neon yellow. She loves it. I can understand what it's like to go to school and have a lot of kids wearing a color that's common and wanting to wear that same color. Now that I can understand. I didn't have to change my opinion. I didn't have to buy the shirt for myself, but I can surely see why she would like to put it on.
You were agreeable without agreeing.
I was understandable, and agreeing didn't even matter.
There it is.
And so we really want to work to understand our kids. I can get that. I know what it's like to want to wear what a lot of other people are wearing. I get that part.
When it comes to differences, you say compare apples to apples. What do you mean by that?
Well, we're very quick to compare what's different now, right, to what would have been the same then. I'm taking my 40-year-old, I just said that out loud this year, my 40-year-old opinion that has lots of experiences and lots of situations underneath it to her 12-year-old opinion.
Right.
That is so unfair, because the truth of it is, if I think about what I did when I was 12, I probably walked into a store with my mom, I probably looked at a shirt and said, I love that one, and she probably thought very patiently in her head, that is terrible. I don't want you to wear that. I was 12 too, and so I can't compare what I am now to how she is now.
I like that.
I've got to go, what is it like to be 12? Where's the empathy to really think through, what is she thinking and feeling? And when I was 12, I was probably just like her. I probably was. There was probably a lot more similarities than there were differences in us.
So I like that example. It's easy to discuss for our purposes and apply, but metaphorically, we can't always say yes to the neon orange shirt. So how can we help, or neon yellow, excuse me, neon yellow. How can we help, how can we help manage the expectations kids might have?
Sure. So we're going to make sure that our agenda is not the agenda that we're pushing. we're going to make sure that when we have these sweet little kids and they start to grow, that we allow them to be who they are. And a great analogy that I heard years ago, I heard a woman compare children to a bonsai tree. And she said, it's unfortunate that as parents we try to raise them as bonsai trees, where every day we pick and we prune and we shape and we help them grow in certain directions so they're just so. But our kids are really wildflowers. And what they need from us is they need some really good sunlight, and they need a lot of love in their soil to nourish their experiences and their situations so they can grow and stretch. We've got to manage actually our expectations, not so much theirs, but it's ours that we've got to put aside, recognize, and just create an environment where there's a lot of love and truths for them to grow, to expand.
What a powerful analogy.
Isn't it?
I can see why that stuck with you.
Absolutely, because we do that. We get up every day and we think, what do I need to trim off? What do I need to change?
How can I fix this?
Right, instead of, wait a second, how can I just fill that soil with as much goodness as I can so that they know which direction to go?
I imagine differences, as frustrating as they can be, are also an opportunity for you personally to maybe see things a little bit differently, learn from your child even.
Absolutely, and to create and then gain new perspectives, right? And this is where we want to separate differences here. Oftentimes, what we see different with our children is a matter of opinion or process, not values. So if we go back to the situation with our daughter, she and I do not differ on the length of her shorts or what's okay for a 12-year-old to wear. We don't differ on the value part of that decision. We differ on the opinion, which is simply, should it be navy or should it be, screaming yellow? That's the difference. Another thing, she and I differ on a process. I think she should get up in the morning, take a shower, dry her hair, and then eat breakfast. Our daughter thinks she should take a shower, eat breakfast, and then dry her hair. We are very, very different on that. I see it as if you've got something to take with you, it's a lot easier to take that, protein bar than it is your blow dryer. So you're stuck, right? That's how I see it. There is no Bible that says you must dry hair first and then eat. There isn't. And so instead of recognizing this is a difference, let's power struggle over it, I can learn a lot. She manages her process every morning. Fantastic. She's out the door, she gets everything she needs, she just does it in a different order than I do.
Okay, but Heather, what if the differences do come down to values or belief systems? That can be trickier.
That's big, and if it does come down to that, that's why understanding over agreeing matters so much. Because if you create the foundation with your children where they know that your main goal is to understand them, which means they feel loved and respected, then when there is something monumental, it doesn't rock the relationship. And remember, the goal is the relationship. And so that way, even if it is a value-based difference, it doesn't affect the fact that we still love each other no matter what. And sometimes there will be value-based differences. Love trumps that, and that comes from understanding.
I'm picturing the bonsai tree. How can we avoid that one-size-fits-all parenting approach?
So one suggestion I love to make to the families and parents that I work with is I ask them to write their own owner's manual. Their very own. And it's so funny because how many, we've all said it, we have kids and we go, man, how come this kid didn't come with an owner's manual? It'd be so much easier. Start writing your own. Whether your child is like you or like this, nothing like you. Get whatever book you have and write down what works and what doesn't. And you will start to see the patterns that take place. We'll start to see our insecurities and our strengths. We'll start to see what works with our children. And we will have this beautiful kind of manual creation that helps us that we can refer to. Now, not just that, but how powerful would it be to hand that to your child when they have kids? And to pass that along and to say, these are the things that worked or didn't. I just want you to know that I love you and we've been taking note. This might come in handy as you've got your own.
Oh, I love that so much.
And it's an amazing, the process is what's so powerful. Even if it passes on or not, the process is good. The other thing I love to suggest is to find a common denominator. We don't need to do my thing or our son's thing. We need to find something that's just our thing.
Together.
And that bridges the differences.
Awesome. Heather, what a powerful conversation. Thank you so much. If people want maybe some family coaching from you or to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Absolutely. All the information is on the Studio 5 website.
Thank you again.